So the beginning of this video is going to be the less interesting of the X factors in the round 1 series, because these are the series that, while I think they can be entertaining, example this series here with the Cavs and the Pacers, in the sense of I think Indiana can push Cleveland to 6 games, the key of the series is LeBron, because whenever he feels like it, the Cavs are just going to win this, and that's just the story of that one. Similar thing with the T-Wolves and the Rockets. I recently said that I think the Rockets are going to put up an 80-point half against these guys, so I think that tells you all you need to know in terms of how I think this series is going to go. James Harden should have himself a pretty easy time doing almost anything he wants against these T-Wolves. So, yeah, call him an X factor if you want. And then there's Kevin Durant for the Warriors, and I do think there is a bit of a fear, or maybe not a fear, but an idea from people that the Warriors are going to have a tough time without Steph Curry. I don't really think that's going to be the case. Okay, so now that we got those out of the way, let's get into the ones that I think are a bit more interesting and have a more depth to them. So we start with this Bucks-Celtics series, which is very interesting because you have a Bucks team that is maybe more talented. I would say yeah, mainly because of Giannis. But their head coaching situation is rough, and the team really doesn't play that together, I guess. So I think that's why a lot of people are picking the Celtics, who have a way better head coach in Brad Stevens, right? I think the X factor of this series is Jason Tatum, because for as much ball movement and beautiful basketball that the Celtics are going to play, when you're dealing with a guy like Giannis, there are going to be some games where you can do everything right and you're still going to lose because you just don't have a guy who can match him. And with Kyrie Irving not there, it's just not going to happen. But I think Jason Tatum may have the closest chance of doing that for these Celtics because he can create his own offense. And as they've been giving him more responsibilities as the season has gone along, especially with Kyrie out, he's been playing well. I mean, he has one-on-one abilities. He can hit contested shots. We remember the Summer League where he had the really all the responsibility on offense. So I think he's going to have to play pretty well for the Celtics to defeat the Bucks in that one. For the Wizards and Raptors, I think the X factor is Kyle Lowry. And this one is kind of similar to like the ones that I did in the beginning of the video. But I think the difference here is everything with the last few years with the Raptors, right? Because they keep on losing game ones. And it seems like Lowry, even if you believe that DeRozan became a better player than him this year, which I think is fair, even if Lowry was kind of better the last month and a half. But it still seems like Lowry is kind of the heart and soul of the team. Like if he's really going, if he's attacking the defense and pick and rolls just relentlessly, if he hits a couple of contested threes, it really gets the team going, right? So I think we're going to need him to just ball out for the Raptors in this series and step on the throat of the Wizards, I guess. He has played less minutes this season, and he did have a lower usage rate, I'm pretty sure, with the more ball movement and everything. So hopefully it's not a matter of fatigue. And I don't think there's any signs of injuries, so hopefully Lowry's good to go. Because if he's not, then I think you could see all those fears and maybe lack of confidence the Raptors have sometimes. It could creep back up if he just starts the series out kind of rough. If we get to the Sixers and the Heat, I think Dario Saric is going to be the deciding factor in this one. I've said it a million times now. I think Miami's just going to load up on Simmons, Embiid, and Fultz. And you're going to need other guys who can create offense, and I don't think they're going to leave J.J. Redick or Bellinelli open. I think Dario Saric is the other guy who can create his own offense, right? Because Covington, he's a good shooter, but he needs other guys to create for him. Saric can go off the dribble, and I think there are times when he could get matched up on some of Miami's bigs with Whiteside and Olynyk and that, and I think those guys are vulnerable to be beaten in different situations. You know, Olynyk, not the best defender around the basket. Whiteside, not the best perimeter defender. Yeah, I mean, I think the Heat are just going to do stuff with their defense to get some of Philadelphia's star players just a little uncomfortable, and that could open it up for Saric to be the saving grace for Philly in that series. If we get to Portland and New Orleans, I'm going to go with Yusuf Nurkic on this one. he is not as good of a player as Anthony Davis. That is very obvious. But I think he's the one guy on Portland who could actually bother AD, just because he's a big body who's probably stronger than Davis. Now, he's not going to have a chance in hell to match him athletically. And I'm not going to be surprised if AD wins this series by himself, putting up 35 and 15 every game. But if there's one way to hinder Anthony Davis, it's to just out-physical him. And if anyone's going to be able to do that, it's got to be Nurkic, right? Nurkic does have an attitude to him as well. I think he's not going to be afraid of Davis. And I think that's going to be the key to this thing. You know, I mean, if you're not causing any resistance to Anthony Davis at all, you're not going at him physically, you're not posting up on him, you're not putting an elbow into him when he drives, then you're not going to have much of a chance to win this series if you're Portland. And then finally, the Thunder and the Jazz. I'm looking at Carmelo Anthony, who has been one of the worst perimeter defenders in the league this season. Teams have been attacking him like crazy the past couple of months. And he's got to be ready to move because Utah has a motion-heavy offense. And I think they're going to target him a lot. I do think we could see some more simple offense from the Jazz at times. If they can get Melo switched on to Donovan Mitchell, and you can just go one-on-one against him, that could do a lot. His matchup for a lot of it will probably end up being Jay Crowder, who's not going to beat him in like one-on-ones, of course. But Crowder's pretty okay at moving off the ball, I would say. So Melo's just got to be ready to switch. He's got to be ready to close out on whoever it may be. And I mean, it's just like Derek Favors plays a decent amount of minutes at the 4 as well. So Melo's going to be facing some different things, and we're going to have to see if he's up for the challenge. Because if he's not, and Utah just has one guy that they can constantly go at, that might be the difference for OKC. Also, new podcast in the description. I recapped the 2018 regular season, and then I gave my some of my favorite video games of all time.